Hey everyone, my name is Josh Tolan and I'm the CEO of SparkHire, the leading video interviewing platform used by thousands of organizations around the world. And this is The Recruiting Reel, a video series in which we discuss real recruiting challenges with prominent recruiting experts so you walk away with actionable tips you can apply to your own recruiting. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Joe Burridge to the show. Joe is a senior recruiter at the video game company Electronic Arts and is quickly ascending in his recruiting career. He has worked as an agency and corporate recruiter and has been part of some extremely fast-paced recruiting efforts. Joe has some great insight from his experience on how to make more confident hiring decisions and improve trust with hiring managers by defaulting to no in your recruiting process. I'll let Joe take it from here.
My name's Joe Burridge. I'm one of the senior recruiters at Electronic Arts, which is an American video game company with about 13,000 employees across the globe. And today, what I want to talk about is defaulting to no when recruiting. So that's going to be a mindset that's really going to help you when making those tough decisions on candidates. So to start, I'll only give you some examples from my earlier career when I was definitely defaulting to yes. So when I was working in recruitment agencies, you'd often hear the phrase, if in doubt, send them out. And what that means is that when you have a candidate who you're not quite sure if they're a fit for the position. They've got some positives, sure, but they've also got a lot of things that you're not too sure about, a lot of negatives. But you know what, just send them on to the client anyway, because you never know. They might be the one who actually gets the job. Or an example from working in-house. Perhaps you're interviewing a candidate who looks fantastic on paper. They have all the skills and experience they need for the role, but whilst interviewing them, you think they're not really a cultural fit. But you know, I'm going to pass them on to the next stage of interview anyway, in the hope that they get the job and it all works out okay. So yeah, in both of those examples, you're defaulting to yes. And you really want to avoid that in recruiting, as it can ultimately lead to lowering your talent bar and making bad hires. So what you really want is to avoid false positives. And what I mean by that, false positive is a bad hire. And it's much better to have, miss out on a bunch of false negatives, as in to miss out on a whole bunch of good people for the role. And the reason for that is, sure, you've missed out some exceptional people, but if you have a good candidate process anyway, hopefully you'd be able to reach back out to them. But it's the devastating effect of making a bad hire. They can be toxic for the culture. They can do obviously a really poor job and increasing time, cost and quality perhaps for their manager. Sorry, increasing time, cost and lowering quality. In worst case scenarios, ruin the company. So that's what this mindset is focusing on, avoiding that scenario. So there's a whole bunch of positives to defaulting to no, though it may not sound like the most positive thing. First of all, it'll help you become a better recruiter. If you're constantly thinking that there's going to be someone out there who's going to be saying no to this candidate, no to either moving them forward in the process or no to making that hiring decision, it makes you build a better argument for them. You've also got to be thinking, okay, I've got to justify my reason for saying yes to this candidate. Secondly, going back to that idea of time, cost and quality, if you are assessing candidates better, you're going to save time, as in you're going to pass through candidates to the next stage of the interview that should be better. So meaning less time spent on interviewing from the rest of the interviewers in the process. Because of that, you're going to reduce cost because those other interviewers can be spending their paid time in a much better way, much more effectively, and ultimately improve quality. You're going to improve the quality of the candidates you're sending through, which should mean, in an ideal scenario, the hiring manager has a whole bunch of highly qualified and fantastic people to choose from when making that hiring decision. And lastly, you're going to improve that trust with the hiring manager. It's always better to send through a really small amount of candidates, but making sure that every single one is perfect for the position, rather than sending through a lot of candidates who sort of hit near the mark. it is really easy to do that, especially when you've got a position that is hard to fill and the hiring managers are just asking for candidates. It's really easy to say, okay, I'm going to just send some through just to keep them happy. But it's always better to just wait and stick to your guns and make sure you're sending through high quality candidates. And so really I want to end on 3 easy steps that you can implement to make sure that you can actually start practicing this and improving your recruiting. And first of all, it's a really obvious one, but making sure you know the role. This is the best way to avoid that defaulting to yes. If you truly know the role, if you spend the time at the beginning of the hiring process, learning the position, getting to know the team, and really working well with the hiring manager on what the position is, then you're least likely to come across a time where you're not too sure on whether to pass the candidate through or not. Secondly, it's making sure that you understand who all the others are in the interview process and making sure they are fully prepared and equipped to do a true assessment of a candidate. So do they understand what their role is? Do they also understand their purpose in the interview process? As in, is their interview on a particular part of the role that they're assessing? And why are they actually in the interview process in the first place? And lastly, are they actually set up to assess candidates? Have they been through interview training and have they interviewed candidates before? And lastly, is make sure to encourage transparency and feedback. You may work in a company that discourages interviewers speaking to one another or sharing that feedback to avoid bias, which is fine, but just make sure that you encourage that they are really analytical with their feedback and providing that in depth to you and the hiring manager. It's a great opportunity for you to learn from the candidates coming through the process and constantly iterate and improve every time. So that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed it and best of luck with your recruiting.
Now that is experience, folks. You just heard some real-world advice from someone who is living and breathing recruiting every single day. This is a tough thing for a lot of recruiters to overcome, especially if one of your key performance indicators is the number of interviews that you're booking. Don't get it twisted though. Joe isn't telling you to be so strict that you eliminate good candidates. He's saying that you need to be better at identifying who is a good candidate and be confident in your assessment. And this takes work, a lot of work. You need to get with the hiring manager and even meet with the people who are already doing this role if it exists in your organization. Find out what success looks like, and then you'll be able to look for this in your initial screenings. When you have a crystal clear picture of what you're looking for, you should be able to build a solid case as to why you're moving forward with the candidate. If you can't, well, that tells you all you need to know. And you should document the reasons why you're moving forward with someone, not just why you reject them. This will allow you to review these notes with a hiring manager so they can give you feedback and you can improve going forward. I want to thank Joe Burridge for coming on the show today. If you'd like to learn more about the career opportunities at Joe's current company, check out ea.com/careers. To connect with Joe on LinkedIn, use the URL below and also follow Joe on Twitter @JoeFindsTalent. Thanks so much for watching this episode of The Recruiting Reel. For additional HR and recruiting related content, head over to hr.sparkhire.com and subscribe to our newsletter. Also follow us on Twitter @SparkHire and subscribe to our YouTube channel to be the first to know about the newest episodes of The Recruiting Reel. Thanks again for watching and happy recruiting, everyone.